You know, I think people underestimate what modern technology can do for filmmaking. Hi guys, welcome back to Round the Clock Frights. This is episode 2 of our official...
Round the Clock Frights or Round the Clock Frights?
Round the Clock Frights. Round. With a roll in the R's.
Around the rocks the rugged rascal ran.
I can't do that. Every time I try to roll my R's, I sound like a... Gringo.
Same.
Anyway, welcome back guys. Like I said, this is episode 2, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Now, on this channel, we've agreed to primarily review theatrically released horror movies, right?
Right. The classics, the up-and-comers, and the ones that are just released.
Yep, exactly. But recently, we actually got a message from a local independent filmmaker from Los Angeles. He's a really cool dude. His name is Charles, and he basically asked us to review a short film of his. And since we're hardcore horror fans, at least
Hell yeah.
2 of us are.
Hey.
He'll get there. Anyway, we agreed to do this.
Right.
The film is called R.I.P. Sarah Barker. And basically, it was this really neat gimmick of making a movie through Facebook Live, where you would have someone basically recording a video in front of a camera, and then allowing the audience to influence the storyline through their comments.
Very innovative, very creative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brian, what are your thoughts? Do you think this is something that could work in the future?
I think it's absolutely something that could work. I think it's a format that has a lot of potential. I think there's some interesting ideas you could get out of it.
I don't know.
Kind of like the old choose your own way books.
Exactly. A little like Whose Line Is It Anyway, I was thinking.
Whose Line, the horror movie. Actually, that sounds like something I would watch.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
So the next movie is going to be like a horror story about improv. So, Whose Line Is It Anyway, the movie? The horror version?
Coming soon.
Coming soon. So anyway, yes, they reached out to us, and we are happily reviewing this movie for them. But we're just going to say this up front. As people who love horror movies and have made horror movies, we've made it a goal to be completely honest about our opinions, because Thor...
Well, love the way you pass that on. Because when you love something, you have very high standards for it. And when it comes to horror movies, when we lessen those standards and we don't hold ourselves to excellence, then the whole genre starts to become a laughingstock. I mean, if you guys remember, after the heyday in the 80s with the slasher flicks, horror became a straight-to-video franchise. And honestly, the only time you caught a serious actor in a horror movie was when it was like their first movie. Matthew
McConaughey in Texas Chainsaw 4.
Well,
that was beyond serious.
Jennifer Aniston in Leprechaun.
That was like...
Renee Zellweger in Texas
Chainsaw Massacre 4?
Yes.
I keep going back to that movie. That movie's like a comic, like a cartoon.
But that's the thing, is that at that time, because we stopped expecting the best of ourselves as a genre,
right.
Everybody else treated us like we were nothing. We were a joke.
So, to the horror filmmaking community, we would love to review your films. We'd be more than happy to talk about them in detail.
And also make sure that we have links to them on our page so that way we can get your art out.
But with all due respect, like, we would expect from you the same, like, that...
The same honesty.
The same honesty and the same truthfulness. So, R.I.P. Sarah Barker was directed and performed by Bria. Yeah. Was the girl's name. And I'll just say this.
And it was also written by her, too.
Also written by her, too.
Yeah.
Bria, to do all of this is an extremely, like... It's like a very impressive feat. Like, I'm sure it took so much effort and so much time, and we really commend you for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was, to be able to take all 3 of those things on is just... And then do it in one shot, that's crazy. Yeah. Lots of kudos to you, sweetheart, because honestly, you know what? You have a bit very big, bright future in front
And
of you,
you do.
with that kind of talent.
And if this was through Facebook Live, that meant there was no rehearsal. This was all
This was all there.
All in one
spontaneous.
take.
And
It was all
that's
organic.
impressive.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
impressive.
Incredibly impressive.
Let's talk about the plot a little bit. Brian, what is the plot of R.I.P. Sarah Barker?
Okay, so the protagonist, also named Bria, they have a little.
She used her real name, like the Blair Witch Project. I thought
Yeah.
that was cool.
Definitely.
She's usually a makeup specialist as well as a YouTuber, and essentially this story is unfolding in real time as she's hosting a YouTube chat session,
Or a Facebook chat session.
a Facebook Live session
Yeah.
where she's talking about how recently she's being harassed by people online because a stalker just set up a website, essentially recollecting the death of one of her recent friends, Sarah Barker.
Yeah.
And she's getting harassment online because everyone is blaming her for her death.
Yes.
And
Right.
and she's essentially complaining to the camera about that.
hmm
And then supernatural shenanigans ensue.
Supernatural shenanigans. Who are we gonna call? Blumhouse.
That was lame. Okay.
Thor.
What?
So, I know you've had some things. I know you have some things to say about the plot. So,
Okay.
go ahead.
Well, the plot, actually, you have a lot of things going on. It's definitely tapping into everything that's kind of going on modern days with a lot of young adults and a lot of teenagers,
Right.
where online harassment, online stalking, suicide, the idea of whether it's our selfishness that causes something like that, whether there's any way to stop something like that. And I mean, with the character, you can tell she's playing a very not nice person. You're kind of happy when she dies.
Mm-hmm.
So you do get the feeling from what's going on, like Brian said, that she was responsible for the friend's death.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get into that idea of, do you feel guilt over that? Or do you bury your head in the sand and just ignore all of that because you don't want your own life to be changed?
Do you just move on?
Do you just move on and forget it? Or
Yeah.
So you guys picked up some social commentary in this.
definitely a lot of
Little bit.
social commentary in this.
Was it relayed effectively? Did you get the message by the end, and did it hit you?
You got the message by the end, but as far as it hitting you,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't like the person that was your narrator in the story, Bria.
Right.
You didn't like her, so
As a character.
as a character,
Right.
so you didn't really feel it. You're kind of, and you don't know anything about Sarah Barker,
Right.
so you don't know whether or not you should feel it. If that's, I don't mean to sound callous.
In defense of what they were doing,
Mm-hmm.
should we feel sympathy for the type of person that is being portrayed in this?
I don't.
Don't you think that could have worked to the message's benefit then, if we didn't like this character?
Oh no, that totally worked to the message's benefit.
Okay.
Because you were kind of cheering for her death at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you don't, so when you said, feelings and all that kind of stuff, whether you felt it, you were more like, okay, revenge. It played out in a revenge fantasy kind of way.
Right.
In that the person that is evil, that is a bully, that, does all these terrible things and just, oh my God, it's not me, it's you.
Mm-hmm. You related, you compared her character in this to Emma Roberts in Scream Queens.
I love Emma
The
Roberts
basic
in
white
Scream.
bitch.
I love Emma Roberts in Scream Queen. I think that she's phenomenal in that. And I did see the actress try to reach similarities between that and the character portrayed.
Mm-hmm.
Little note on the acting.
Yeah.
If you are going to portray a character like that, then you need to go 100%.
Go all the way.
You cannot hold back. You have to completely let go of your own internal condemnation of this character, because she was an awful person. The character was an awful person, but you could see that the actress knew that.
So my thoughts on the plot, like I said, I did see the commentary in this. I did appreciate the message. Like, as someone who does currently go to one of the most notorious party schools in America,
Go Sun Devils!
Go Sun Devils! I can attest that there are a lot of BWGs. That's what I call them, because if I say the actual name on camera, I'm going to come across as like a intolerant asshole. So BWGs.
So I will say it.
Yes.
Basic white bitches.
Yes. No, basic white girls.
No.
BWGs.
No. That's the technical term.
Okay. So BWBs. Anyway, the point is, I've seen a lot of these individuals like on campus, and I did appreciate the way this movie. Yes, we both have, and I do appreciate the way that this short like tore them apart.
It really
Really
did.
appreciate that,
Yeah.
and it was done effectively too. What we're gonna do now, since we've gone into detail about the plot, is we're gonna talk about the pros of this short, and then we're also gonna talk about the cons. But just to note with the cons, we are gonna be helpful with it.
Yeah.
We're gonna
not
try to be constructive.
Yes.
Not try. We are going to be constructive.
Right, of course.
Because Lord knows if you ever track down some of the things that we've done, it's not always been.
Filmmaking is hard.
Yeah.
Filmmaking is hard.
It's not what you think, by the way. We don't have connections with like Pornhub or anything.
Ew! Gross! No!
There are sponsors.
Bad Josh!
I do.
Bad Josh!
I do.
We're keeping that.
Kidding.
We
Yeah.
are keeping that in.
Okay. Some pros of I thought, and see, I'm a special effects person.
Yes.
I love special effects,
Mhm.
makeup, the whole 9 yards. You guys already know.
You've
you guys
done
don't.
you've done zombie makeup before.
I've done zombie makeup. I've worked horror, haunted houses. I've won awards at film festivals for my makeup, and with the special effects, I thought that they were done pretty effectively.
Yeah.
Usually when you have practical effects like that, they either have like paranormal activities, you have the grainy camera that might hide things.
Mhm.
This was done in a very bright room.
Mhm.
And
And I look for any kind of issues with that. That's like my pet peeve.
Right.
And I didn't really see any.
neither did I. Neither did I.
Same here. I agree.
Again,
No.
I just want to say again.
The guy pulling
for-
the rug, there was a little bit of a shadow, but honestly, you were filming live. That's hard to correct for.
and that's what I'm saying. Because they were filming this live, I think that's even more impressive.
Exactly, completely impressive, because if there was even the slightest little mistake, it would have knocked out everything.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were able to coordinate that is huge.
With the special effects, I can say what I really appreciated was the simplicity.
Mhm.
Yes.
It wasn't too over the top, and by God, it actually did convince me. Like when the items fell off of the wall, it
Yeah.
actually it looked damn good.
Yeah.
The
It
towel
looked very
flying
good.
through the air, look, phew,
I didn't see the strings
I didn't
or
Neither did I.
whatever you used.
Neither did I.
It was very good.
It was very well done.
So Brian, some more pros from you. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So we were talking earlier about this sort of gimmick and how it
Mhm.
could work in the future.
Yeah.
Do you think this sort of thing could work with higher concept films, or do you think it lends itself to simplicity?
Ooh.
What do you think?
Oh, I think it could absolutely work. I think there's a lot of potential in this idea.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think you would need to have like the best team possible
Right.
and people who are really on their game.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I felt like you could tell the people were very much on their game and that they were able to update as quickly as people were giving them suggestions
Mm-hmm.
to
They're very quick on their feet.
just go with the flow.
Mhm.
And if you want to do more higher concept,
Mhm.
I think that would be challenging but not impossible.
I do have one fear about that though,
What?
and I'm going to relate it to the Paranormal Activity series,
Yeah.
which
It always goes back to that.
it always goes back to
It
that.
always does.
And what I'd like to say about that is that series started off by being a pretty simple, basic idea.
Yeah,
This
and it
couple-
was most effective when it was that basic
This
idea.
this couple is living in their house and they're stalked by this supernatural presence, but it wasn't overdone. You know,
No.
like this short, it was pretty basic. You know, you had
Yeah.
doors slowly opening, you had things flying across the room,
Right.
you had props like flying off of the walls. But gradually, the series became more and more ridiculous and high concept.
Yeah.
And it lost a lot of its potency and effectiveness because
Originality.
because by the time you got to the Ghost Dimension, it was a
I didn't
freak
even.
show.
I love horror movies. I didn't even bother watching it. That's how bad it got.
Oh, I saw Ghost Dimension.
No.
How was it?
Yeah. No.
That's like a whole nother discussion.
Like I said, we have standards.
But the problem with the Ghost Dimension is that it was too over the top and too overdone. It relied too heavily on special effects, which is why I'm worried about how this gimmick could lose some of that if you had better like effects or higher concepts.
See, here's the problem. If you go for higher concepts and better effects and all that kind of stuff with this kind of technology, it takes away from the gimmick.
Right.
Because now you have to go to scenes. It's not one take. I mean, doing a one take anything is incredibly hard. And then throwing in special effects, throwing in this, throwing in that, that just makes it borderline impossible to do something high concept and longer and more produced, more quote unquote polished.
Particularly with like such a huge team.
Exactly.
So now we're going to move on to the cons. I'll go ahead and start this one.
Con! Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Okay, go.
James Caan is rolling in his grave. What is he dead? Is James Caan dead?
Oh my god. Josh,
I
just go.
haven't
Just
Genghis
go.
Khan?
Just
I
go.
haven't seen
Genghis
the dude
Khan?
since Elf.
Dude, just go.
So the cons in this movie, I'll go ahead and start off. For me personally, like as a screenwriter, I thought at the beginning there was a little bit too much information thrown at the audience.
I feel like it was a little...
Rapid fire.
Yeah, and tell, don't show. I think much of the best storytelling comes from showing and not telling. But I will say I recognize part of that must have been difficult to do with, again, the gimmick.
Oh yeah.
The format.
Yeah.
Mhm.
God yeah.
So that's understandable to me somewhat.
Understandable, but still something that the writer, who again is also the director and the star, just throwing that in there. It is an area that a lot of screenwriters, even ones that win Emmys and stuff and stuff like that, still struggle with. Is that show don't tell, or the show don't tell idea.
Yeah. So some of my favorite directors even still struggle with that. As much as I love Christopher Nolan, I'll admit that's probably a weakness with his films.
Yeah,
But
just a little bit.
Hey, there was a reason they replaced him with Zack Snyder for the Batman franchise.
we don't need to go into that. But
Anyway.
There's bribery involved.
Yes.
So just a quick note, like I said before, really into the special effects and makeup. Make sure that, and this is a very specific point just because it's a huge pet peeve for me, and when you do this, it throws the audience out of that suspension of disbelief mode that you want them in. Make sure your makeup tells a story.
Yes.
In it, you have the poor, well, she's not a poor girl, actually. I was kind of cheering when she was getting slapped around. Getting slapped around is shoved under, getting shoved under a bed, and then she comes out with her face with blood all over the bottom, and it just appeared there. There was no way to discern how she was injured, where she was injured. She just like grabbed a sponge under the bed and went like this real quick.
You mentioned that was a technicality.
It is a technicality, but it is, when doing horror movie, you want to make sure that you are keeping people in that suspension of disbelief mode.
Yeah.
That they are just accepting this is real. You want to make sure that any little thing that you can do to keep them there, you do.
And I realize that this had to be filmed in one take, but try to put yourself in the audience's shoes.
Yeah. And that's very difficult to direct and act when you only have one take to do everything.
Yeah.
So, and that's just a couple of technical notes.
Yeah.
Brian? Some cons?
Sort of building off of what she was saying. Again, part of this is because it was in one take, and so this is another note. Be aware of what your audience. Put yourself in the audience's shoes. I had a bit of trouble when she was being slapped around the bed and then her face was all bloody. I had a little trouble understanding what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I would recommend, again, if you're going to do this in one take, make that especially clear to the audience.
Maybe rehearse in front of a mirror before you do it, if that's it, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
You know.
It's just
Fight
just to-
scenes, even if you're fighting something invisible and that's not there, fight scenes are still a dance.
While still allowing it to appear spontaneous. I recognize that's a big challenge.
It's very challenging.
But more what I'm saying is just make sure all your story beats are very clear, as clear as possible.
I will say this. From what we were sent, we did do some research.
Mm-hmm.
I went ahead and looked at their Facebook page.
Yeah.
And I did look at some of the behind the scenes of this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do apologize. I'm not entirely sure how much rehearsal time was put into this. I do apologize about that. If you did list it, that's my bad. But that's not on you at all.
Yeah.
But
I don't know how much rehearsal time was put into this. I'm not going to act like I do.
I don't.
Right. But honestly, my final note about that would be, during the rehearsal process, maybe have some more outside opinions.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, show it to people, you know, get some outside thoughts, because really can help you with the structure of your film. Outside opinions are like always good. Now we come to the point of the review where we give our final thoughts. I would recommend watching this. Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting way of creating a story. I would love to see more of it, like I said. What do you guys think?
I think that it has a lot of potential and a lot of places where this team can grow. I would like to see where they go with this and how they start to polish things up a little bit more as they get maybe, like I said, I don't know how long they rehearse, but, you know, as they start to expand, rehearse more, you know, all those kinds of things, so that way they're able to balance a little bit better on stuff.
Yeah.
Brian, final thoughts?
Essentially the same as Thor. I think the gimmick has a lot of potential. I think there's some stuff to work around, but I think many of the key elements are in place, and I think it suggests promising things to come in the future.
Yes. So, that is R.I.P. Sarah Barker, Bria, Charles, like we said, congratulations on finishing this. Good luck with everything in the future. And then if you want to send us anything more, we'd be happy to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Please. But yes, if you've been following our messages, we plan on reviewing the 2016 film The Monster next, in theaters. This was directed by Brian, I was going to say Boitano.
Yeah,
Brian Bertano. Same guy who gave us The Strangers.
Right.
We need to write a song called What Would Brian Bertino Do? What would Brian Bertino do? He would give us
Okay, so anyways, Monster is coming out in a couple of weeks, and we're really excited to watch it. However, we don't want to go a week without watching horror.
We would miss it.
Yeah, a little bit. So next week we're going to throw up a nice review of a good movie. Well, I love it. I think it's a great movie.
And I've seen it before as well, just throwing that out there.
And it's called Crimson Peak.
Yeah.
Directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Who is one of my favorite directors. It's Guillermo del Toro and Joss Whedon.
Spielberg.
God, it's so overrated.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really enjoy making these videos. It's a huge passion of ours. We hope to make more of these in the future with Crimson Peak, The Monster, and then going forward.
Oh yeah.
We do plan on doing more classic films, like going back to as far as maybe the silent era, honestly.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Oh,
Cabinet of Dr. Kilgari is, you know.
That's what I want to do.
Nosferatu, star of SpongeBob.
Oh, stop. If you guys have any suggestions or any movies that you'd like us to review, please leave it below in the comments.
Yes. Anyway, guys, be sure to subscribe, and we'd be happy to hear from you.
Absolutely. Or if you don't subscribe, you can comment.
Yeah. So take care.
Either works.
And have a scary day.
But really do both.
Yes.